But the most amazing, and I mean amazing thing that we saw at this homestead was friends. During the winter months, we seldom have visitors come out to our homestead.
No.
And one of the reasons why is it's just not that great to visit a homestead during the winter months. It's usually yucky and wet.
And it's ugly and there's nothing green. And mentioning wet, we get a lot of rain that time of year. And just the other week we had one of our friends stop by before they went back home, and he slipped and fell, and we were like, oh no, this is why we don't have people over.
Yeah. And in addition to that, we're like, it's a transition time where things are like resting around here, so things tend to be messy with tarps on the gardens, and it's just not a real glamorous time to come. And with this in mind, in a similar way, we don't really go visit a lot of homesteads and feature them on our YouTube channel during the winter months for this reason, because there's not the same wow factor in visiting in a place during the winter months. So, however, we did make an exception here recently.
Yes.
We went to visit our friends Randy and Lindy in Indiana. And Randy owns a demolition company that he and a number of his family members have worked in for years. And they have a lot of big trucks and big equipment that the kids really enjoy seeing.
Yes, they did.
And one of the perks of having a demolition company is he is able to repurpose a lot of items and things that were taken off of job sites.
Yeah, things that they want to rip down, and he sees the value in them, and so he saves them.
Yeah, and it's so nice that those items aren't sitting out in landfill. He's repurposed them, and they make sense, like the steps that he had here was off of a job site. And Lindy, Randy's wife, has been a work-from-home mom for years, homeschooling the kids and helping Randy out with the business. And it was really neat just connecting with her.
It was, because we connected on so many different levels about health and family and religion and all these other things where, you know, you just feel like home. And we've known Randy and Lindy for a while, but this is the first time we ever got to visit them and spend like lots of quality time. So, you know, it's just one of those places where you feel like home.
And she is so passionate about gardening. And one of the first places that she showed us on the homestead was her garden and her really nice compost and soil.
It's beautiful stuff, and it makes absolutely gorgeous topsoil when it rots out the next year. When we inherited this farm, it was the most pathetic, dry clay, just dirt. We couldn't even call it soil. And 3 years of this stuff, and it's this beautiful black, crumbly soil. Anyway, we love it. And it's free.
There we go. What do you have sprouting here?
This is garlic.
There we go.
I just threw in a bunch of bulbs in the fall. That's all I had winter over out here, besides the strawberries. Oh, and the raspberries are taking over the world. They have to be managed, for sure.
So you get a ton of raspberries out of all that over there.
We do, except if some years we haven't properly thinned them.
Yeah.
And the babies come up. Anyway, I planted 15 raspberry plants, and now I've probably got 15 million, and I can't stay ahead of them. So I'm not really sure what we're going to do at this point. We might just need to dig them out and start over. They're invasive, and if you don't do your homework on invasive things and you put them in your garden, it's a force to be contended with. So we're gonna have to dig those out.
I'm glad you're sharing that with me, because we're just now planting raspberries, and something to keep in mind that they don't get too crazy.
If you put them in a place where you can mow around them, that's an option. That's what I recommend to people that come. I have a please come take free raspberry plants weekends, and people come and dig them out and take them home and start their own nightmare. But they have to be thinned no matter what you do.
Okay.
No matter what.
We might be interested in taking some if that's all right.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, I'll send you with the truckload.
Look at the soil though, man.
Yeah, see, this is last year's pile like that.
Wow.
And it's just beautiful. I had my sweet potatoes here last year, and they just swell up.
That is fantastic.
Isn't that incredible?
That is just beautiful. Beautiful,
so,
Luz.
You go to your local municipality, and they load you up for free.
That is great. And she was a little embarrassed showing us around the garden, because she was like, it's so messy. Things are still in transition, but it's like, hey, it's okay. I know this isn't Instagram worthy with everything in transition and resting period, with it being the winter months, but that's okay. That's real. That's how it is on a real homestead. Every day things don't look like picture perfect like you see on Instagram.
And that's how our homestead looks right now, so we totally get it. Get it.
And that's normal for this time of year, but then as you start things growing and you start bringing things back to order, then things will just start looking really good, and those will be pictures people will post on Instagram.
That's right.
So some of the things you see on Instagram, they don't always look like that, and all. So you see all the different homesteads on Instagram, just remember, they don't always look like that year round.
No.
We were burning all our, dried tomato plants and weeds and and the wind whipped up the other day, and the plastic was blowing all over the place.
I totally know what you mean. We've had the landscape fabric blown everywhere, the tarps blown everywhere.
Come look. Is this what you're talking about?
Pretty much the same thing. The woven landscape fabric. That's what we use. That's pretty good stuff. This one's even thicker. Where do you get this particular kind
I don't know where he got it, but see, I have this entire roll, and we did tomatoes. This was here all summer, and not a single weed popped through. So the tomatoes were here, and this was our walk path in front of it. I did do some green beans here, but it was amazing. It didn't sprout a single weed. I've had landscape fabric I used in my actual landscaping that the weeds came right through. Yeah. So, and then they were even harder to deal with, but this stuff is pretty amazing. So I don't know, we'll have to find out where that came from. These rubber strips were old conveyor belts.
Oh, really?
You can also get these free. You go, Feynman Rubber is a local company, and they make, and they have old scraps, and he gets these rolls of this, and I cut them up, and I drag them, between my...
That's a good whiff too.
Anyway, they'll clean up a walk path for you, and it only in warm weather it only takes a couple days, and
I like that.
Move it to a new one. So if you lose control, which I tend to lose control in a garden this size, these really help me recover.
And these are, with it being the rubber thicker, you can even use the flame weeder around it, and it won't burn them up.
It's not going to affect it. Right, correct.
Because if you use that right too close to the landscape fabric, it'll burn the fabric
correct.
up.
Well, I just like free resources. And
there you go.
I tell people, go find your local rubber place.
There you go.
They've got scraps like crazy, mountains of scraps.
Yeah.
So
there we go.
Those have been my friend, for sure.
And in addition to Lindy's garden, they really have a lot of neat things going on on this multi-acre 5-year homestead. They have chickens, and they even have some chicks that they're starting right now.
And ducklings.
They're really cute. They also have a really, really beautiful pond, and then a second one that's kind of like hidden behind it. And they had this great Pyrenees that I fell in love with, and I think we had this connection going, because every time I would come outside, his name was Samson. He would just come right over to me. He's like this miniature polar bear.
He was so sweet. He was so big, but he was so loving.
Everything on there. Yeah, he was like a big polar bear. And they also have cows, which I had the opportunity to see Randy milk one of them, and he had this easy milker, and I really liked it and thought it saved a lot of time. When we visited a number of other farmers who milk their cows by hand, I noticed that it was a pretty lengthy process, and I was like, I don't know if I could do a milk cow, and I can't dedicate that much time. But seeing him with this easy milker, I was like, oh, I could do that.
Yeah, it was really fast too. I think it said it'd take him like 10 minutes to milk the cow, and that was it.
You know, I just realized.
What's that?
That's her calf.
Uh-huh.
And he probably drank it.
Oh.
Now we can still milk. Some alfalfa. Cow candy.
Hey there.
I use warm water for the first cleanup, and then I'll use a spray vinegar for the finish up to clean her up for milking.
So Randy, did you grow up milking cows?
No, I didn't. We grew up horses, and we did have some beef cows when I was a kid.
So when did you learn how to do this right here?
We did have goats years ago. We started off with goats and then got the cows. And trial and error.
There you go.
Vinegar. Vinegar is like a natural disinfectant. Now she doesn't have a lot because the calf was on her last night, and the calf is old enough now that he can keep her drained. You have to check when you take a first squirt out, and then she's ready to hook the machine up to. This is an easy milker that we purchased, and simply hook a vacuum pump, 110 electric vacuum pump. This pump is designed to be plugged in, or I can use a Milwaukee cordless drill battery on it if you're remote and you don't have electricity. That's just a simple inverter that runs the 110 pump. And that fills vacuum. Here's a vacuum gauge. We have a mark on it that we don't want to exceed to hook them up. So, and then we simply take the tubes. These are the shut-off valves. Hold the vacuum until we're ready to hook up. Hook her up. And hook them up. You can hear the vacuum. And then the milk flows. You can see the flow. And we're not going to get very much today, but we've been averaging about 3 gallons a day when the calf is off of her.
3 gallons a day, wow.
Yeah, and we milk once a day.
Wow.
When they first have the calf, you have to milk twice a day to get the demand on her so her supply is up. Yeah, he did a good job on her. And you can see that I can just tell by looking at it, there's not hardly any milk in there. But we might get a quart or half a gallon today. That's about it. That one's done. I pulled down a little bit for the final strip out. You want to strip them clean. And you get a few drops. And then we know that we're complete. That one has a little bit, and I hold it, see it taper off. Now it's finished. So she's completely empty now. So then we shut the valves off, and that breaks the vacuum. And that's it.
So how long does this normally take?
When she's full, it'll take about 10 minutes
Okay.
to empty her out. Obviously today she was empty, but and then some quarters, they call it quarters. Some quarters have a little more than others. That's just a natural thing with the cow. So her rear quarters hold more milk than her front quarters.
But I've seen this done by hand. Using this easy milker,
Oh.
looks like it saves a ton of time.
Especially if you have multiple animals.
Yeah.
And if we were milking two, we would just pull her out and bring the next cow in. The milker, that's a 5-gallon pail.
Okay.
So that'll do several cows. But 3 is an average on this size Jersey. The minis maybe down 2 gallons a day.
Okay.
Mini Jerseys, a lot of people like the mini Jerseys, so she's a full-size Jersey. And they can go as high as 4 to 5 gallons on a bigger cow, and they have more when they first have the calf, and then they taper off as you go longer. She's ready to go. We just got a little headlock. We lock her in. She backs out.
Hey, lady.
And all of this was really neat to see. But the most amazing, and I mean amazing thing that we saw at this homestead was their greenhouse.
So
It was
awesome.
like an oasis of greenhouse paradise.
So this year was really experimental in here, deciding what did well and what wasn't worth the space. I had a zucchini plant. I got 1 zucchini.
Oh, wow.
So definitely not worth. The broccoli took up quite a big bit of space, and it sat there, the most beautiful plants, all winter long, and it didn't bloom until just now.
Okay.
So I'll definitely do it again. But boy, the carrots, the potatoes, the onions, the lettuce, the greens, all that did just famously all winter. I wintered over a bunch of pepper plants that look absolutely terrible, but they're shooting out new leaves in a hurry.
So we're here in Indiana, and right now you have tomatoes that are growing right here.
I had a white fly invasion and an aphid invasion. So these are getting ready to come out and new plants go in.
But still, you've been harvesting from these.
Oh
it
yes,
looks like.
absolutely.
That is great.
This wall of tomatoes right there is still doing quite well. These had to come out because we had a crack in one of the windows that let a bunch of cold air in and killed these plants off, but it was a trial. So here that's my Clementine tree. This is a clementine, and it's happy. Oh, it's happy.
How old is this tree?
I had it in a pot in my kitchen for the winters for like the last 3 years. So I'm estimating this has got to be about 5 or 6 years old. And we've gotten clementines off of it before, but it's never been quite this happy since I put it in the ground in the fall.
Wow.
And it did quite well over the winter, even though it got down to 34 in here.
So it looks like this one's going to be pretty prolific.
Yes,
this year.
I'm definitely going to be crying when I thin them out.
Man.
I'll be sobbing as I pick off the extras. So over here I have a an avocado tree hiding in my broccoli here.
Wow.
This is also very happy. This is about 8 years old. It actually has the potential to bear fruit. I'm wondering how big it'll get this summer. These, right here we have 5 panels that open up. They slide open.
Oh, wow.
So you see the bar over there, you push the button and these roll back.
That's cool.
So it can actually rain in here.
Wow.
And it lets the excess heat out in the summer. So I placed my my avocado tree there to get the rain. My banana tree, I'm really excited about this. This is the ice cream banana. Have you heard that? They call it the ice cream banana tree. And so I'm excited about getting a banana out of that. I have a lemon little bush over there. And I got my first lemon off of it.
I'm loving this right here.
So the slabs we were telling you about, this is a cistern right there. So this roof drains into that cistern. How many gallons?
45,000 gallons cistern.
So it has its own water, and this slab here can be heated by the wood stove or the propane. And then this slab over here, we're going to heat with compost next winter.
And then the building was a swimming pool cover that we demolished, and we saved the aluminum trusses and then put new polycarbonate twin wall covering on it.
So this is made from repurposed materials.
All repurposed.
That is fantastic.
Some things are new, but for the most part, it's repurposed.
That is great. So how long of a process has this been for you in repurposing it?
I've been a couple years actually building it, because including the demolition of the original building, and then we set the foundations, and we're still working. It's ongoing.
This is great though.
Labor of love.
Like a little oasis in here.
So our goal is to keep it above 40 degrees all winter.
Okay.
Which we did pretty close. We had a few 35-degree days, but we didn't lose anything.
Okay.
So we learned a lot. This was our first winter through. So hopefully next winter we'll do a little better.
That's fantastic. Can you explain some of your systems that you have up here?
Sure. Let's walk up the top. This slab is above the cistern. It's 45,000 gallon cistern that we collect the rainwater off the roof is in it. And then the slab has radiant floor heat. You can see the tubing for radiant floor. And we have a propane backup instant hot water boiler. But this year we're going to do compost in the rear on a slab so that we pick up the compost heat as it produces heat as it rots and compost to warm this slab up.
That is great.
So there's 2 zones of radiant floor. This the larger one, and this is the smaller one. And they work great this past winter, except we use propane. So next winter I don't want to use any propane. I want to hopefully rely on the compost.
Yeah.
We use totes. We repurpose totes and cut them down lower so I can move them with a forklift. And that way I can pack them in here tight without having the lost space of the aisleways.
Yeah.
And
you're even using these carts here as well.
Right, I got these off of from a company that was disposing of them. And so we repurposed them and using these carts to grow in.
And you got grow bags you're growing in here too?
Yeah. Lindy bought some grow bags, she likes those. And then these were excess inventory of a company, these roll around carts. So we're going to do the carts for growing flats of lettuce and things.
Wow. That is another good repurpose item, those shelves. Those come in handy.
Yeah, those are very
wow.
Because you can pack them in or move them around.
Yeah, that is awesome.
And then...
so what all do you have growing in the individual different containers here?
Okay, this is peppers. We have peppers here. That is potatoes. That whole container is potatoes. This is all lettuce, just started. And I'm not sure,
Tomatoes here.
because I have some of my kids growing. These look like, you know, I'm not sure.
Cucumbers maybe.
These are tomatoes,
Okay.
and but I don't. It looks like a melon. Almost.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you got more tomatoes growing
More
back here.
tomatoes, more lettuce, peppers and lettuce, and this one. A few weeks ago, we were single digit.
Wow.
All this went through it, so that was a milestone.
So even with those single digits, you were still able to keep it warm enough in here that where you could still grow tomatoes and peppers and not lose anything.
It's enjoyable to come in and look up at the snow and the ice on the roof and,
Wow.
and work in your garden. We're in zone 6, so that's pretty good.
Yeah, that is.
Our kids, we just give totes, so they want a little garden plot in the winter. Our kids will come and have a couple totes, whatever they want to grow. And with this much room, it's just a lot of work for one person anyway.
Yeah.
So we share. We got neighbors. She assists in milking our cows, so she comes up and works in here in the winter. And we're just getting started. So as you can see, a lot of open space right now. Hopefully next year it's full, because the capacity is just huge, especially if you use shelving and grow. Like those are tomato starts that'll go in the garden later. And as you can see, just the minute the sun, we're oriented slightly south and west. So in the morning we get the end wall, we get the sun. In those real cold days, literally the minute the sun come up, the temperature would start exceeding the outside temperature quickly.
Tame the heat as well.
Right, the mass, and that's what that does. This slab is insulated underneath.
Okay.
So, and that's my other tubing. So this slab is full of tubing with insulation, repurposed from a Kroger cooler we tore down.
Oh, wow.
And when this slab gets warm overnight, it releases the heat. And that's the biggest benefit to all the concrete and the stone we put in here, is the storage of heat.
When it gets too hot, you'll be able to open up this door here.
These sliding doors open, and this our west to east air movement, and then there's a sliding door in that end, so we get a through breeze.
Okay.
And then even that's not enough in hot weather, so we open up the roof panels. There's a series of 5 roof panels that slide down. Each one is 8 foot by 8 foot.
Wow.
So we can open that, and then we tend to get birds and insects coming in. Pollinators.
They might not want to leave. It's so nice in here, they might not want to leave.
Yeah.
So Randy, can we go down the other steps?
Sure, come on.
And that's to where the cistern is?
Yeah. Oh, that's a man cave. Feel the temperature drop?
Oh yeah.
This is just a division where the cistern stopped here, and then the other, we'll take you down below and show you the cow shelter.
Okay.
And so I ended up with a space, but then I dug a hole, and we have a freshwater spring that stays full all the time. So I pump out of that for water, groundwater.
And is that how you water all the plants in here from there?
Right now we're on cistern, but eventually I'll be able to use this.
Wow.
So I don't use all the cistern water.
That's fantastic.
So that's just a division between the 2 zones we saw upstairs. Then those are the downspout pipes, 2 6-inch pipes. And then this is a 45,000 gallon cistern.
Wow. Impressive. A lot of work.
A lot of work.
But worth it.
That's why it's taken so long. This is used brick we had. And this is stone we dug out of the hills that we, off the farm, the stone. Some type of, has a lot of iron in it because of the brownish color.
Okay. So did you lay the brick and the stone as well?
A friend of mine did.
Okay.
And yeah, I hired some things out. I couldn't do it all. That's what we did that wall, so that's a planer box.
Daddy, this.
What's the plans for in here? Is it to have a little fountain?
I want to put water, and then I'm going to have a waterfall.
That'll be beautiful.
Which also, in the wintertime, you more heat storage
Yeah.
with the water. Indoor pond. Maybe possibly fish. If I don't know if they can survive in that small, but some koi or tilapia.
I've seen even in some urban areas where they've had like ponds or little ponds, whatever you want to call them, this size, and they've had fish in them.
Yeah. So that's our goal.
This is amazing because this allows you guys to be able to go 365 days of the year. And
actually, it's off. It'll be a little bit off in the heat.
Yeah.
But you'll still, the warm, like tomatoes, they love the heat. So
Yeah.
the hot weather, tropical cucumbers, they just keep on going.
That is great.
So that's what we'll go, and then we'll go to the outside garden for like higher volume sweet potatoes, things like that.
This just shows you what you can grow in a greenhouse, that even as far up here as you guys are in Indiana, that you can still grow 365 days of the year with something like this.
That's right.
It's amazing. Oh, you got a ladybug there.
And so you'll see them ever so often.
So you put ladybugs in here?
To
That's a
eat
great
the
idea.
aphids.
That is a great idea.
So sometimes they ride in on the fruit into the house, and then we bring them back out.
There we go. And you've created a nice little habitat for them to want to stay in.
They like it in here. So what I did was, the cold air sinks to the low pit down there,
Okay.
and then it goes in. Then I have tunnels around the cistern. It goes all the way around the cistern, outside, and then I channeled up, and then the air comes through the holes in the flexicore.
Oh, wow.
And there's the cold air sinks, and then the warm air comes out of there when the slab warms, and it just naturally turns the air and heats it from the concrete.
Ah.
And you have water below it, which never gets below 55 degrees. So that's just a natural geothermal heat storage. And then I'm intending on putting a fan in there so I can move more air through there and then circulate that heat, because it's all underground, so it's 55 above year round. And then the slab on top is heated on top by the radiant floor and heated from the underneath by the water from the cistern. So I have a fan. Actually, I'll turn it on and I'll show you the air movement.
Okay.
So now the fan is pulling the cool air on the low side down in there,
Okay.
and then pushing it. It's just a small amount. You can barely feel it, but pushing air out of all these holes. But of course, now the air is actually cooler coming out of here because the air temperature in here is warm.
Yeah.
So this would be 55-degree air coming out of there. So it actually cools, but for the most part, it's for keeping it above freezing in the winter.
Wow. And also can help with just circulation of the air in general, just so
Right.
you need to have that.
You have to. You don't want it stagnant.
Yeah.
Actually, I want to mount some. I want a couple ceiling fans.
That'd be
To
great.
mix the air up a little bit.
So Randy, all this is pretty sophisticated. How did you learn how to do all this?
Just trial and error mostly.
So do you have any background in any of this at all?
I just grew up around growing and gardening and had the passion and love for it. So
And then know how to do the construction aspect of it, or at least coordinate it?
we have a demolition company, so we have the equipment to move the soil, and because you have to have the equipment and to move the soil and do the concrete work. And
What do you think about it here, Josiah? You like it in here?
Yeah.
You almost want to live in here, don't you?
But life can be furious and things can go wrong. You go, we're better off tomorrow. But who knows if we get joy or sorrow. Stay true to that fire in your heart and your soul. Don't drench your desire in what you can't control. We fly, try so hard to get there, and we might be lost but not forever. There's things in life you simply need to know about sun and rain and trust and letting go. It takes a bit of suffering, sleepless nights and wandering before you make it safely to the end, the end, the end.
Was it amazing or what? We had such a blast visiting this family, seeing their homestead, and seeing their amazing greenhouse. It's just great time.
Well, and just the thought that Randy put into everything about heating the floors and the cistern and having the cows outside in the back of it, and it was just all these cool things that just come together and make this greenhouse awesome. And I can't wait to go back sometime and see it like in full, you know, on greenhouse mode.
Yeah, because they just started this greenhouse, and to see what the potential of that is there, what they've done already, and then the trajectory of where it could go and what it could be producing when it's really maximized, it's just like, woo! It's like the dream greenhouse.
That's right. Citrus trees in Indiana through the winter. I mean, that is so cool.
It so is amazing. And between the greenhouse and what Lindy will be growing in her garden outdoors, when things really start cranking this year, it'll be amazing to see all that she's producing and the abundance that they will have there. So maybe we'll have to plan to go back probably late summer, early fall, and check that out and see what all they're harvesting then, because they're harvesting tomatoes right now. What do you think it'll be when during that time of year?
Bananas this summer, I think.
The greenhouse will be going bananas and growing bananas. So I really enjoy visiting places like this and spending time with people like this and seeing people be blessed for their work ethic and their diligence and able to reap the rewards of those efforts. Is so nice seeing all that come together.
It sure is.
Well, stay tuned, because maybe we can plan for another visit to this amazing homestead and their amazing greenhouse and this amazing family that we had the opportunity to fellowship with, connect with, and just hang out with. It was fun.
It was.
Don't say you're ridiculous, you're not even close. Don't wish for indifference, you're not one of those. We fall, but we always rise up through it all, it all. We get a little wiser,